and want to welcome our guest in the studio. We've been wanting to have him on for 6 months or so, and it's hard to put all this together, but it's hard to get guests and then get committed and then have times and all that. Anyway, Chuck Harder's from the Red Horse Motoring Club in Pottstown. Good morning, Chuck.
Morning.
I hadn't seen you since
Hershey.
Hershey. That's right. It wasn't that long ago.
No.
How was Hershey for you?
It was good. And sorry, I'm a little distracted. You're kind of not doing your guests a service here. I have to talk to you, and I have to stare at an AC Cobra, a 427 Corvette, a Stutz pre-war. Like, come on, dude. Put a wall up here so we can not be distracted.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I mean, I never think about things like that, but we have car shows out in the parking lot on Saturdays when we normally record.
Yeah.
And Steve and I will be talking on the air, and
Right.
look at that. What is that? And
Yeah.
you wonder, the poor listener can't see it, and can't see what you view, but you can go on our website and see all this and our drone footage too. If you haven't seen the drone footage of our place, it's pretty amazing. A guy flew through here and went through cars and through windows.
I watched it.
It's just unbelievable.
Killer. Yeah.
Really incredible. So Hershey was good for you. I think a lot of people were concerned because of the weather at Hershey this year. But
Yeah, weather, and it shifted one day. So I think some of the public knew that, some didn't. But
Right.
we got rained on for several days, but that's Hershey.
Yeah.
Right? I got a big 30 by 40 tent, so
Right.
it seems, and I have a cooler with beer and water, and also I get everyone coming in and hanging out, and it just becomes a living room.
Absolutely.
For a few hours during the rain, but that's all good. That's why we're there.
We had the same thing at our big tent up there, and we had heat, which some of them didn't have.
Yeah, I don't have heat, but I got a sofa and I got coolers, so
Hey,
any man can survive.
That's a man cave at its finest. Doesn't need heat. A bunch of sissies. You don't need a bunch of heat.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been going to Hershey?
I've been going since about 09 maybe.
Oh yeah. So
one of my first mentors in the collector world, in the auto, let's call it automobilia collecting, because I collect everything, it seems, but drive my wife crazy. But was Charlie Shellbaum, and I didn't know if you know Charlie back in the day, and he was literally called the King of Hershey.
Right. Yeah.
He was there from the first year until the year he died. He had the best tent there with the best stuff. He was just an epic collector. He'd go over to Europe and fill 3 containers full of stuff and bring it home and take it right to Hershey.
And stuff you never see anywhere else.
Nowhere else. Nothing else. So he was a great mentor and taught me a lot in the beginning years of my collecting automobilia. So that's really why I started going to Hershey, because of him, telling me about it.
Sure. Well, and automobilia is a segment of the market that has grown by leaps and bounds. But the stuff that people when they say automobilia, a lot of people have a misconception about some of it. It's not the fake cheap Chinese signs, and it's not the cheap neon stuff. This is real hardcore automobilia stuff.
Yeah.
Ferrari prancing horses that are 6 feet tall. And,
Yeah. I try to collect the super rare. We're old statues, bronzes, fine art, and then bleeding all through the signs, neons, gas pumps, all that stuff.
I just read the other day there was some gas pump or neon sign that sold that was a special kind of oil company. I can't remember. I wish I'd have written it down.
Musco,
yeah.
1.6 million. One sign.
So you knew immediately. I love that you know that.
Yeah.
Was that in an auction somewhere? Or
that was Jordan Richmond, a buddy of mine. He owns Richmond Auctions, and it was a mint example.
What makes it so rare? I mean, what because you collector guys say it is, or what makes something like that so valuable and so rare?
Right. So for me, we won't get into the deep conversation of rare because it drives me crazy.
Sure.
Everything's rare today, and almost none of it's rare. To be honest with you.
Right.
The Musco is more desirability. It's a somewhat rare sign.
Sure.
But there's plenty of them out there.
Right.
I own pieces in my collections that's the only one known or two known. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of Musco signs
that are known
and out in collections, and I've owned one before. Unfortunately, I didn't want to own one last week, but but it's more desirability. It's got an incredible image of American Indian. It's just colorful, and what brought 1.6, I have no idea.
Because what would have been the record up for one of those prior to that?
About Morphe's sold one for 275-ish before that.
Right. And that was probably a scratch your head, oh my God,
that was
that was crazy.
Numbers, and everyone's going, oh my God, and then that hit it. And then Morphe sold one the week or 2 weeks ago for I think 350.
Really?
Now, it wasn't the condition of the 1.6, but it was darn close.
Right.
So the sign world is absolutely insane right now,
And
and has been for a long time, actually.
Because guys who have collections of cars need cool stuff to put on their walls.
Right.
And they don't want the typical, Bob's Big Boy in the corner and the,
Right.
all the, I mean, some guys do want that, and that's cool. The,
Right.
the 50s diner in one corner and the Bob's Big Boy over here and the 400 neon signs. The reason
Right.
I love neon in and of itself. I don't like neon around cars because I think it distracts from the car because of the way that it shines the light on the car and that kind of thing. So,
Right.
And I get that, but these collectors are. I mean, if you look at these collections like what RM sells and Gooding and those guys, the large portion of the time that they spend on the collection is the memorabilia stuff.
Yeah, it's really barret-jackson now does 2 days of automobilia before the cars start.
Yeah.
So it was really fueled, in my opinion, the sign world, the gas pump world, all that stuff, automobilia was fueled by just a bunch of weirdo collectors that love that stuff.
Sure.
And now the car guys are really in it to win it.
Sure.
In the last, I would say, 7-8 years. So 10 years ago, when clients were asking me, "Is this it? Is this
Right.
where it's going to be?"
Yeah.
And no,
No.
the car guys haven't even gotten into it yet.
Yeah.
And now the car guys are getting into it, and it's just gone up and up and up. And the rare is rare, and the rare is going to keep selling at high numbers.
And that's no different than what we do here in our world.
Right.
Classic cars and memorabilia. It's like you said. I say it all the time. There's rare versus desirable. Just because it's rare doesn't mean anybody cares.
Absolutely.
But we were at the RM sale, and I was bidding on a Rolls Royce Flying Lady ashtray, and it got to $700. And my wife looked at me and she goes, "You're bidding $700 for an ashtray. You don't even smoke anymore."
Yeah.
It kind of got caught up in the moment, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something obvious and something that you see every day. I mean, there's memorabilia guys that have the stuff that everybody sees, that you see on a regular basis, that 90% of the guys have in their collection. And then there's the other guys. And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. The high-end collector who's got 20 or 30 cars, wants some cool stuff on his walls.
For sure.
You look at Leno's garage, and he's got those huge, massive posters. Oh, my God, and they're so cool in the way that they're done.
Yeah.
And we tried to kind of replicate that here. We bought a lot of posters from Ford and General Motors. They have factory shots that they sell you.
Yeah.
So how do you tell if something's real or fake in that world? It's not like matching numbers.
Paper's hard, first
Right.
of all. And I collect old posters. I like the real early, late 1800s, early 1900s stuff. And that's actually easier than the 40s, 50s, 60s stuff.
Right.
Because now with the printers that are out there, you got to take it out of the frame. You got to look at the back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then people say, "Well, how do you know if a sign's real?" Well, it's what I do every day. I live it, right? So that's how I know.
Yeah,
right?
I know because I know. Don't ask me so
and
many
you know
questions.
where the fakes are coming from Argentina and India, and all of a sudden eBay has 30 Musco signs, and
right now,
come
especially.
on. yeah, exactly. So when you're in it to win it, I don't know the answer to that. You just know, right?
Well,
you're doing it every day,
and that's why people would buy from you over somebody else. I mean, we jokingly say, and not jokingly, but we say late model Ferraris are tough for classic automall to sell because we don't offer a service for them and that kind of thing. And so, you got to be good at what you're good at, and you got to do what you do best, and you got to do that well, and you got to know that you know. I mean, sure, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, we've sold cars and we thought they were something and they weren't, and we've done. I mean, things just happen in this collector world, and especially like you said with the new printers and in that world. So, what do you see as the future of collectible stuff? I mean, what's going to be the next hot item that's coming out in collector car? What should everybody be looking in their attic for?
Signs are just strong as can be still.
Right.
Everybody loves old gas pumps that has cars and they want to fill their buildings with it. I think signs are still the big boy on the market.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's kind of two worlds really. It's the old world that I was taught by, the Charlie Shellbombs that collected mascots and bronzes and the fine art kind of side of automobilia. And then you got the new crop of guys that are just like signs and pumps, and that's it.
Right.
So the old world guys, they're kind of getting old,
right?
And some of them are dying off, and those collections are not bringing what they used to bring, right? Mascots were hot as can be in the 70s and 80s, and guys went crazy and had 800 mascot collections and all that. Now new guys, they don't even know what they are.
Right.
They like them, they're cool, but they're not paying $5,500 for a mascot. You know?
Exactly.
That world's down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I collect them. I'll still pay up for a great mascot, but the bulk of the collectors today don't even know what it is.
Right.
But they do know what signs and gas pumps and that kind of stuff is, neons. And so I don't know. I collect what I love.
Well,
right?
that's the best way to do it.
What I was taught.
Yeah.
And I try to go in and buy whole collections and buy chunks of stuff, and I end up with extras, and I kind of sell off the extras.
Sure.
But I buy what I want, and I don't care what other people like or think. Right?
Yeah. Well, because if you have a good eye for something, I mean, we have guys in here that work for us that have a good eye for cars and they know the next one that's going to sell when it comes in the door. I mean, they can just tell because they just have a good eye for it, and that would be what they would buy if they had the wherewithal to buy it, or that was what we were doing.
Exactly.
The good thing is we don't have to buy cars here, and so we have $30 million worth of other people's money in here. And we spend all of our money on the building and the marketing. So from a marketing standpoint, though, you don't go to sell at auctions. You go to events and sell one-on-one, face-to-face with buyers. That's your business model, right?
Yes, absolutely. I go to the concourse shows, Amelia and Pebble, and all the places I see you at.
Yep.
And we go have a cold one together, and and I have a client base from over 25 years of doing this. I send something here and there to an auction, but very rarely because I don't need to.
Right.
And I don't have to pay those charges and blah blah blah. But for the future, I would say to anybody, if you're prospecting, give that up.
Yeah.
Right. Just stop now.
Right.
Collect what you love.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. If it ends up being worth a $1.6 million Musco,
yeah, absolutely.
good for you.
Yeah.
Most likely it's not going to be.
Exactly, because you know what? Predict the future, you can't do it. And if you buy what you like and you have a good eye and good taste for something, then either it will or it won't be more valuable. But the beauty of it is you'll have enjoyed it.
Exactly.
And if you're buying things because you're starting a business and you think that you're going to get into the classic car world or classic memorabilia world, it's a tough business.
It's tough.
It's tough to buy, and I did it for years. And man, oh man, I stepped on my toes so many times.
Yeah, there's an art to selling, and I talk to a lot of the young guys that are coming into the game. I'll call it, and they think they're all going to get rich in this year. Well, I got 50 grand from my buddy or my dad or whoever, and I just went out and bought a whole bunch of signs, and now I'm gonna kill it. And they quickly realize that there's an art to this.
Yeah.
And just because you have some product doesn't mean you're selling out next weekend.
Absolutely.
You got to get out there. You got to as the military said, you got to accept the grind.
I like that.
You got to accept the grind.
Absolutely.
And it's a grind. You know it.
Absolutely, 100%. So when we return, we will continue our conversation with Chuck Harders from the Red Horse Motoring Club, and we'll actually maybe talk about that in the cruise in this a little bit. I'm having fun talking about memorabilia.
I know. I could do it all day.
Absolutely. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast from Classic Auto Mall Studios. A little slower day today. I guess everybody's enjoying the sunny weather.
It's
maybe
nice out.
Maybe our last sunny day. I got to get the Harley out. I put 11 miles on it in 9 months, and it's all in the parking lot.
You're gonna get your man card pulled.
I'm telling you. I had to call the dealer, and he goes, "Hey, you enjoying your Harley?" I said, "Well, I hadn't really ridden." And he goes, we can come take it back."
Yeah, exactly.
I said, "Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate that." So anyway, we're talking to Chuck Harders, the Chief Executive Officer of the Red Horse Motoring Club. So we've been talking memorabilia, which we could, like you said, we could talk about all day. But let's talk about the Red Horse Motoring Club and what it is and where it is. You're down in Pottstown.
Pottstown, PA.
Pottstown, PA, which is the hotbed of classic cars around here.
Unbelievable.
I think it's so funny.
It's unbelievable, the cars that we see, besides the car club, we'll talk about that, but the car show that we now run in downtown Pottstown, I'm amazed at the cars that show up every show.
It's unbelievable. And they're coming from a further distance, I would imagine, the more popular it becomes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's down on High Street, and it's the first Saturday of the month for
May through October.
May through October. Yep. And it's an amazing, we've been a sponsor, I guess, since day one?
Day one.
Yeah,
we have been a great sponsor, and we appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate you. Listen, I look in our database and see where cars have come from, consignments, and where cars are sold, and Pottstown comes up conspicuously a bunch of times.
It's hot, yeah.
It is really amazing. What do you think that attributes to? It's the more kind of blue collar guys who are into muscle cars and stuff like that, mostly, or
it's not. It's blue collar guys. It's not muscle cars though, because it's everything. I mean,
Right.
once we took over the show, we kind of accepted everyone.
Sure.
We said, hey, bring
Yeah.
it. If you love it, bring it.
Yeah.
And we get everything. We get everything from pre-war to muscle to exotic
Right.
every show. But just the surrounding area, I think there's been a car culture. There has been a car culture that's robust back to the 50s. They used to do drag racing on High Street.
Right.
I mean, it's nuts.
Wow.
And you look into some of the old like magazines from the 50s and 60s. Pottstown was the mecca for cruising.
No
I
kidding.
mean, it really was. It's got a giant main street. It was
Right.
4 lanes at that time. And the main street's, I don't know, 2.5 miles long. So it was a great cruising circuit.
And at night, probably most of the businesses were closed, so you
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
bugging anybody.
So it was hot, man.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
I meet, I call them old timers now. That's what they did. High school in the '70s, you went down to High Street and you cruised High Street all night long and had a blast.
Sure.
So it's got an incredible history, and we're surrounded kind of the Tri-County area, all of around there, and the area from King of Prussia, Philadelphia,
Sure.
all the way up. I just can't believe how robust the car culture is there.
I think it's as robust here as it is anywhere in the world. I mean,
I do too.
people say Southern California and South
Yeah.
Florida and Arizona, and that's great, and they are robust. But
Right.
I don't know. There's something about this part of the world that it's permeated more than in just about anywhere I've ever seen.
I'm with you.
And it's amazing to watch the people come through that we meet on a daily basis who have collections and 20, 30 cars, and they're unassuming people. They're not.
Yep.
They're not guys walking in flashy suits and
Yep.
gold chains and dripping diamonds. They're
Yep.
just regular guys that come in who just
Absolutely.
have such a passion for the hobby. A lot of it has to do, I think, with the drag racing around here that went on. Not only the sanctioned and the unsanctioned down High Street. So, how many years has the cruise been going on now?
The cruise goes back to the 50s.
Wow,
Yeah,
still,
it's a very historic car show.
And you guys took it over when?
We took it over like 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 years ago, and we're 6 blocks of downtown, and we're averaging about 700 to 800 cars. Probably
That's crazy.
8 to 15,000 people
Right.
come out, and it's not just the car people coming in. It's what's so cool and unique about that show. It's a nighttime car show.
Right.
It's downtown.
Right.
And we got beer gardens everywhere, restaurants. I mean,
Well lit.
well lit. It's
yeah.
getting so busy. My partners own J.J. Radigan's Brewing Company right on High Street. It's a 2-hour wait to get in on the car shows. I mean,
Wow.
it's packed. So we're having fun. And the September show you guys were at,
Yeah.
we did a VW centric show. We did a 2-day show.
Right.
We did the normal Pottstown nights. And then the next night we did VW and Audis. We had 2 prototypes come from a factory in Germany that have
Nice.
never left the factory in their lives. We did the VW did a factory unveil on the street on High Street. There was cars surrounded by probably 10,000 people waiting to see the unveil. It was awesome.
And that's got to open their eyes too.
Yeah.
The manufacturer's eyes to say, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this grassroots stuff might be better for us than we thought.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Just because it's not a big show, I mean, or you're not Barrett-Jackson on television,
Right,
doesn't
right.
mean that it doesn't have significance.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I loved it. Now, have you noticed? I know the answer to this already. A surge in businesses opening on High Street because of this.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can, accredit it to the car show
Sure.
with all the businesses open, but Pottstown is on a great upswing. And, 5 years ago compared to today, High Street, it's unrecognizable.
Sure.
We have outside beer gardens. We have great restaurants. We got fine dining. We got axe throwing. We got all this great stuff happening, and people are coming in to town to have fun. Certainly on the days of the car show and
Sure.
weekends, we bring a lot of people in. I met for the VW show. VW guy. I'm not a VW guy,
Right.
But the VW guys, I met guys that drove from Quebec, not trailered,
Right.
drove
Wow.
from Quebec in their car, drove from California in their car, Kentucky. I mean, all over the country. Going, these guys are nuts.
Yeah, they're really into it.
They're nuts, and I'll tell you what. It's some of the best interiors I've ever seen in my life.
What do you attribute that to? I've noticed that too of those VWs. Is it just a culture, part of their culture?
It's their culture. They love their VWs, and
they
guys
love
are-
the interiors,
Guys are
yeah.
putting $50,000 into a Jetta. You know what I mean? And loving it.
Sure.
And I'm like, hey, cool. That's part of like our car show.
Yeah.
You've been there.
Absolutely.
I'll have a vintage military truck sitting beside a Lamborghini, sitting beside a Mopar muscle car. sitting beside a pre-war. I don't care.
That's the way we are. You know what? And one of our sayings here, and you said something earlier that tweaked me to remember this. Your pride and joy is our pride and joy, and that's the way we've always felt about it. And it doesn't matter if it's a $5,000 car or a $5 million car.
Right.
It's what gets you excited and happy and proud. And we're never would I look down on somebody because of what they like and what they do. Do I care for everything that I see? Of course not. I was in Chattanooga a couple of weeks ago, and they had the Concours de Lemons, and it's hilarious.
Love it.
It's so fantastic. They had a Tercel wagon that was all beat up and muddy and dirty, and then they had this one that stuff had been glued to everything. It was this themed. It was just, those things are crazy. But guess what? There was more people there.
Oh yeah.
Than there were looking at the fine cars.
Yeah. Hey, he's having fun. That's all that matters.
That's what matters. And and we were talking about this off the air a little bit ago. When this hobby becomes, when you're mad about something and you're just, nothing makes you happy. That's what this whole hobby is about. Is about buying a toy and having fun and enjoying it. And if it's not making you happy, then maybe you need to rethink something here in your life.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Hey, and we take that mantra all the way through, kind of what you're doing here with the mix of cars to our car show to Red Horse.
Absolutely.
That's what Red Horse is all about. Everybody getting together. Membership base is everything.
Sure.
I got a guy that collects 18-wheelers.
Right.
Vintage 18-wheelers. And you can't even believe these trucks. They're unbelievable.
We had a truck show here. I do. I know. I've seen them.
They're amazing.
Yeah. So Red Horse is a social club as much as anything, right? Do you do activities and things like that on top of that? Rallies and cruises and things like that where you go places?
All that, but the base of it is like-minded individuals and enthusiasts having a home to go to. Right. When I started it, there's car clubs. I'm using the air quotes out there. They're all paper clubs. They're just, the Porsche Club of America or the Buick Club. They meet at Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. And I wanted people to have a home, so that's what started it. And I'm a collector, and I've been outfitting wealthy gentlemen's buildings for a very long time, and said, hey, how could I do this for average regular guys that want to
get to enjoy
have fun and have a home? So. That's what we built, and we got Pottstown's 219 members now, somewhere right around that, and it's just enthusiasts. They come in, they have fun. On sports nights, they're all there having fun watching the Eagles or the Phillies, and we do industry nights. We do you've been there.
Absolutely.
Car events at the club.
If
you've
never been there, it's like walking into your favorite pair of loafers. I mean, it's comfortable, it's warm, it's amazing. It's it's got all the right colors, it's got the right feel. The bar upstairs is a lot of fun. I mean, the night I was there, Paul Tootle was there, and he was just standing on a bar stool, just preaching talking about cars and motorcycles and
absolutely
all that stuff, and it just has that comfortable feeling that you look for in a place like that. I mean, you wouldn't want to go to somewhere that didn't feel comfortable.
Exactly.
And we see the members that go in there and the people that talk about it that have been there and how wonderful it is. And it's what was the building prior to your ownership?
It's got great history, and we're in construction phase of our second club. I can talk about that later, but this one was Ludwig Motors, started in 1921 in Pottstown, lasted till 99, I think. So had a great run in Pottstown as a neighborhood dealership. We're surrounded by homes, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
I've met people. People have come to parties and events. I met a guy that said he lived right behind us. He said, hey, look out this window. I grew up in that row home. I go, oh, cool. He goes, yeah, we used to wait for old man Ludwig to leave. Then we'd grab a case of beer and we'd play football on your roof. I go, well, you owe me some money because my roof is horrible. You know what I mean?
All roofs are horrible, trust me.
All roofs are horrible in old buildings. But, so it's a storied kind of dealership that was there. Pottstown knows the Ludwigs. They're a very well-known family, and we just kind of turned it into something a little bit funner. And at our grand opening, we had the granddaughter of Jack Ludwig who opened it.
Nice.
She was 85. She was at our grand opening, and she was flipping out, man, because she worked there 15 years behind the service desk, and now I'm walking around showing her all this great new stuff we've done to it, and she's having a drink and having fun.
Oh, so many times in our lives that we've met people like that we wish we had a camera going and a recorder because so much good information just gets gone. It's and it was something like that. I'm sure that there's historical records and stuff that you see with it. So
there's still in the attic.
Wow, yeah.
I got Mopar books in the attic
Wow.
from every month of sales ever.
man.
I'm not kidding. I
That
pull
is
them down when I know Mopar guys come. They have these amazing black binders. It's
Right.
Mopar embedded into the binder.
Right.
Every month of sales, I can tell you
Oh,
how
my
much they
God.
sold in January of '64.
That is so
You know what I mean?
fantastic. I
It's
love that
great.
stuff. That kind of stuff is the stuff that I would, hours later, I'd still be looking through, you know.
Totally, and we found great stuff. So you'll see Ludwig signs in there. It's what I found. in the
So,
building.
so you think that? So you mentioned that. Anyway, and a website for the Motoring Club. It's,
Yeah, www.redhorsemotoring.com.
yeah, check it out if you get a chance. It's really cool. And when we return, we'll talk about some of the new location that Chuck had mentioned and other things automotive as well. We'll be back in a minute.
Sounds good.
We're back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast. Hey, look, people are coming in.
They are.
There's a something blue. Don't even know. Is that a Civic R-Type?
Oh, I think it is.
I see. I know my cars. Don't mess with me. We are joined with Chuck Harders from Red Horse Motoring Club and Pottstown Nights Car
Yeah,
Cruise?
Pottstown Nights Car Show.
Car
Yep.
Show. And what we were talking about the Motoring Club, I mean, just an amazing place. And if you haven't been or you haven't, go to the website, check it out. It's really cool. But you're talking about version 2.
Yeah, expansion.
Really? Where are you
Yep.
going?
So we're going to a little town called Peapack, New Jersey.
P-Pack.
About 30 minutes outside of Manhattan, going west.
Nice.
Equestrian country.
By design, yes.
Yeah, by design. It's so in the early or late 1800s, early 1900s, the Peapack Gladstone rail line went into the Manhattan and ended right behind my building.
Wow.
So a lot of the Manhattan elite and people that worked in Manhattan took the train out, and it ended in right behind my building. So it's beautiful country. Somerset Hills is the community, and we bought. I think it's the second oldest Dodge dealership in New Jersey. Wow. Yeah, it's really cool. The building's got character, just like the Pottstown building. It's
Sure.
amazing character. And at one point in the 1930s, it was a theater. So there's a big stage, and that's where the primary bar is going to be on top of the stage. So you'll
Love
be
it.
sitting in the lounge, having a drink and having fun and socializing, looking down on the rest of the club.
Wow.
It's really unique. So it's right on Main Street.
Same
Peapack.
size as the building you have now, or bigger, or smaller?
Roughly about the same size, about 13.5.
Well, I guess they were all pretty much that size. There was a formula that they all followed as dealerships back in the
Yeah.
early days, right?
And I have amazing pictures of it back in the day when it was Clayton Ammerman Dodge Plymouth, and I got old vintage pictures of it.
Wow.
The Plymouth Dodge neons on the front.
Wow.
It was a Texaco station. So we got Wayne 60 gas. I'm a gas pump nut.
Yeah.
We got 2 Wayne 60 gas pumps out front with the Texaco signs.
Right.
Super cool.
Oh
man.
my gosh!
I
When
love it.
what's the scheduled date for opening of that?
We're hoping for late spring, early summer.
Right.
That we started that project right in the height of COVID, and then it kicked our butts.
Sure.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
and COVID kind of ended everything, but we're back on track, and architecture and engineering and variances. We're all done all that, and we're starting to drop permits for the final construction.
Fantastic.
So it's exciting.
And I mean, if you think about these social car type clubs, I mean, there was one in Manhattan that they had that kind of was the start of the Cannonball Run, that Chowder Society or whatever they call it. It's still actually kind of going.
Yeah, it is.
But I know that people, especially in New York and in the city, are looking for things like this, looking
are.
for something that is a little simpler times and nostalgic and something that they can enjoy in Manhattan. You can't own an old car in Manhattan.
No. So if you get a little bit out of there, kind of where we're at, and people are looking for fun.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
There's plenty of fine dining.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of fun.
I get-
And-
you know,
and-
you
and
go to
we,
these-
we do fun at Red Horse.
You go to these fine dining places, I get so sick of them. They have out-fancied themselves. Listen, I like good food and I
Yeah,
like
me too.
fine dining, but there becomes a limit where it's like, this is just over the top too much.
Yeah.
We ate at some restaurant in Manhattan. It was supposedly the #1 Italian restaurant, and it was just mediocre at best. And the tables were, I mean, you were like in a coffin, and
Yeah.
I actually used the guy's butter butter on the table next to me accidentally. He's like, "That's my butter." I go, "How do you know?"
Right.
But anyway, so version 2. Could there be more than version 2? Could there be version 27?
I want one in every state.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If you're going to dream big.
Right. Exactly.
And it's easy, it's doable. You know,
the buildings are there still. We hope for now.
The buildings are there, and I'm approached on a weekly basis from people, clients of mine, friends of mine, around the country. Oh, bring a red horse here.
Right.
It would do great. There's nothing here. Nobody's doing something fun.
Right.
So the possibilities are endless. The opportunities are endless. It's just to get to 3, you got to get to 2.
Yeah, exactly.
To get to 4, you got to get to 3. So we're taking it slow. We're going to do it right. And wherever it takes us, it takes us.
Sure. I love that. I mean, we have the same philosophy here. We would love to do version 2 of Classic Auto Mall. It's finding our challenge is finding the building and finding one that's of the scope and size of what we have. Although, you know, you and I had an interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago about certain things that don't matter and certain things that do matter. And that's changed my outlook a little bit. However, you know, you want something that's comparable anyway. But at the same token, expansion is expansion. And if you can grow this thing, I mean, the branding that you could do if you had one in 15 states, you know, or 10 states even, could be a huge thing. What, you know, I read somewhere that you used to jump out of perfectly good airplanes and helicopters.
I did. I jumped out of awesome helicopters into the ocean.
Well, thank you for your service. I'm alluding to your military career, which lasted how many years were you?
30.
30 years. Wow. Man,
30,
oh man,
30
oh man.
years. I'll tell you what, though, I say that number now, and I'm like, wow, 30 years, but it went by in a flash. I mean, it really did. I had fun, and it was enjoyable.
Learned a lot.
I learned a lot. I was challenged immensely by working with amazing people, and I had a good time.
I look back and think if I was 18 years old and I had it to do over again, and I know what I know now, I would have joined the military, done my 20 years, been out by 38, because I didn't really get cranking until about 38 anyway. I was wandering kind of aimlessly over the years.
Good pension and free medical.
And could have, you know, had the babies cheap and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
And so, so you retired as a lieutenant commander about 6 years ago?
2016.
2016,
yeah.
Wow.
Retired after 30, and I was just going to do my antiques.
Right.
You know, I've been antiquing my whole life, and I could have just did that, but I had this crazy idea and dream in my head, and we relaxed for about a year, and then
full on.
That's it, full on. Red Horse, Pottstown, and it's been a whirlwind, but
beyond.
It's fun, yeah.
Well, I think that if you look at what the military does for people, I mean, I noticed my son-in-law, the discipline that it instills in people and that work ethic. I mean, you don't see that from a lot of people these days.
I love it. You know, and I mentor a lot of young kids joining. Right. So a lot of people know I'm in the military, and I tell people if you ever have a kid that's joining, make sure that kid calls me, because I want to talk to them and kind of guide them into the right job, because there's a lot of different things to do in the military. You can end up doing something you hate, to be honest with you.
Of course, like anything.
Let's figure out what you like in life. Let's figure out what works in the military, and let's talk about your service to our great country. And
absolutely.
Even if you do 4 years or 6 years, one tour, I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Go do it. Come home. You've served your country. People respect that. And you now have a GI Bill.
Absolutely.
You know, I gave away. Now you can even give away your GI Bill to your children.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I gave my GI Bill away to my daughter.
Oh, that's
she
so
did
awesome.
4 years at Carlisle at Dickinson College, and it cost me zero.
That's so fantastic.
She walked out of that building with not one bill.
Oh my
thanks
God,
to the United States Navy. So
well, but and thanks to you. I mean, it's no easy job. But I mean, are there times when after you got out that you missed it, or you had a hard time accepting that you weren't still in it? I mean, or did you say, "Woohoo! All right, that was tough."
You know, it's mixed feelings about that. My daughter just got married last weekend.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. And she requested that I wear my uniform, and I hadn't worn my uniform since 16.
Wow!
And I'll tell you what, it was emotional putting it on. I have to be honest with you. It was like, it felt incredible.
I bet.
I haven't put it on in a long time, and when you live a life of 30 years, getting up and putting that uniform every day, it's who you are. It's what you are,
it's
literally.
You, yeah.
And it felt good, but you know what? When I was done, I was done.
Yeah.
You know, 30 years is 30 years.
Sure.
I ended my final tour. Amazingly, was in the space program. I worked at the National Reconnaissance Office for my final tour, and it's a bunch of super secret stuff we can't talk about. But it was the most challenging tour of my life, honestly.
And you got to see probably a lot of the world too, right?
I found some map at one point. So a friend sent me and said, "Hey, do this map," and it was like you click all the places you've been.
Right.
And I've been to 29% of all the countries on Earth.
Wow.
And that's a lot. You
That's
know what I mean?
huge
that's
amount.
a lot.
Yeah, that's.
So I've seen the world. It's great, and my service was. I got more out of it than they did. You know,
Sure.
I truly feel like. Do I miss anything? I miss the camaraderie.
Sure, that's got to be a big part of it.
Military families, truly a family that look out for each other and take care of each other, and you miss that in the beginning. But I got to be honest with you, and I've said this at Red Horse. Red Horse has kind of taken over that role because I lost that camaraderie,
Right.
and then I started Red Horse, and now I have 217 members in Pottstown they're like my exterior family.
All like-minded.
So I've kind of gained it again with Red Horse, to be honest with
That's
you. It
awesome.
really does feel like that.
That makes me feel so good.
Don't cry, Steve.
No, I'll try not to cry. You know, I haven't cried yet on the show. This is show number 60, so
Yeah.
I haven't cried yet. Although I some commercials are getting me these days. But anyway,
all good.
Yeah, you know what? So admire what you've done, and with not only your military career, which is awesome, and I'm so respectful of that, but what you've done in Pottstown and with the club and the future that who knows what it holds. I mean, 10 years from now, it'll be interesting to see where Classic Auto Mall is and Red Horse Motoring Club is, because
Absolutely.
it could be huge. It's hard to say. It's not that we're not huge now with our one location, but but certainly it's got a lot of places we could go. So let me ask you. I got to ask you.
Okay.
Least favorite car you ever owned?
Oh, least favorite?
Least favorite car you ever owned?
So when I was a kid, I would say my mom owned it. She had a Gremlin.
Yes.
And she had a Gremlin,
Yes.
red with white racing stripes.
Of course.
I thought it was the fastest car on earth, literally. I thought it was the coolest thing sitting in the back seat of that. And now I look back and go, wow,
Oh, my
Gremlin.
God, a Gremlin.
I got a guy at the Pottstown Nights. He brings a purple Gremlin every
Right.
car show, and,
Right.
and it's mint. He loves it. He's that Gremlin guy.
Sure,
man.
the Gremlin guy.
I always hunt him out and go hang out with him for a little
Absolutely.
bit. But that was I guess that's my
Least favorite?
least favorite in my life.
And you
of
thought it was
cars.
cool until you found out it wasn't, and you went, oh, I
Yeah.
thought I was cool.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So you have cars actually in the club down there as well too, right?
I got some of my cars, and then we got member store cars there.
Sure.
So
kind of on display and stored, or stored behind the scenes?
no, both.
Both, yeah.
Both. We got members that I got some members that have one car, and that's their car for life, and then I got guys that buy and sell at the rate that you do.
Sure,
So
sure,
There's
yeah.
always kind of new blood in there, which is fun.
Sure.
And then I keep some of my cars in there, which is fun. And I got a 47 Caddy. I kind of consider my parade car.
Right.
So whenever we're doing like cruise we get calls all the time. Can you pick up a vet here and there and blah blah blah. And so I
Absolutely.
load them up in the 47 Caddy because we could fit 10 people in the back seat. And so that you'll see a plethora of different stuff in there on a regular basis.
Well, and that's what's nice, and that when it's always, you come back and it's a little bit different each time, and that's what we tell people about our place. You come back and this place could look completely different a month from now.
Yeah.
And of course that's what keeps people coming back. You hope is the idea. So, how do you feel about the hobby in general, the classic car hobby? You feel like it's strong right now?
Oh, I think it's strong as can be.
Yeah, I think so.
I really do. A lot of people say, oh, the kids are horrible today, the millennials. Hey, look, there's all kinds of guys being raised by guys like us.
Exactly.
Right. So they're out there and they're at the shows and they're having fun, and I know kids that are buying cars for $2,000,
right,
and wrenching on them
like we used
on
to
the
do.
weekends,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's strong. The argument is always, as the years go by, like the pre-war cars. People ask me about pre-war cars all the time, and I think it's just because what's the market of the pre-war cars? Because the modern, the kids they don't even know what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean, they haven't even seen one until
Sure.
they go to a car show. I don't know about the pre-war market in the future, but it seems like it's still strong.
Listen,
right?
Model A Fords, we still sell well.
Right,
They don't last
exactly.
very long because it's a nostalgia thing. I mean, it's simpler times, and it makes you realize that driving was not, it wouldn't you're not padded. You had things that you could make mistakes doing. Now you can't hardly make a mistake in a car, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the problem is that when you have those blindside little mirror things that have the little flashing light, and then you get in a car that doesn't have it, and you just start to turn, thinking, "Oh, I can go over here." No, you got to remember what you're driving.
Yeah.
But driving should require effort. It shouldn't be easy. Right. And
you should have to pay attention.
You should have to pay attention. This, self-driving cars scare the crap out of me.
Me
because
too.
I see that commercial for the GMC Denali, and the guy's got his arms folded, and it's passing another car.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not allowed to pass when my wife is in the car because she's just certain that we're not nearly enough room to go. Sorry, honey.
Well, the beauty of the early cars is really that anybody can wrench on them.
Exactly.
Right. So a young kid can go buy a car for $5,000 that's running. And anything can be fixed in the driveway compared to today. I mean,
you look at
you can't do anything.
Open the hood and you don't even know what you're looking at. It's a big plastic cover over some things, and there might be a place for here and there, and to pour some fluid in this one and that one. And I guess that means we're done, huh, Steve? And as we continue to talk, we'll just keep going and going and going. But listen, I hope that the hobby will continue to do, because your business and my business are predicated on that. And but you know what? Wonderful to have you. Sorry it took us so long to make this happen.
Yeah, no worries.
Enjoyed having you on, and we'll have you on again as the future happens and new things we're doing. So
sounds good, Stewart. Thank you so much.
Thanks again to Chuck Harders. Thanks to Steve and Ethan, and we'll catch you next week.